Hello everybody, Levi Clay here, and I am back again to do another Mandates with Guitar Mates. This time I have an interesting person to be sat talking to, maybe not for the reason that you might expect. You probably know him as one of the top technical shredders on the internet scene today. He is one hell of a shredder. But actually the reason I've got him on is because he has made a pretty decent career for himself outside of the YouTube thing, working as a professional musician, doing the gigging thing. Function type things. Very, very interesting, and I thought it would be very interesting for you guys to look at some of the other ways that you can make a living as a professional musician. Obviously, I also make my living as a professional musician, so I feel between the two of us there's probably some interesting things that we can say. So, everybody, big round of applause and welcome Mr. Sam Bell.
Hi.
Say hello, Sam. How's it going? You well? Are you well?
I'm well, yeah, I'm good. I'm sort of in between a tour at the moment, just having a day off. But now I'm doing things like this, so I'm working from home. So that's what's going on right now.
Good stuff. So for anybody that's unfamiliar with you, why don't you tell us a brief bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing now, what you have done, and we'll go from there.
Well, currently, I'm a kind of freelance guitar session person, I guess. I do the function thing with several different level function bands. I also work for a production company that do a tour of the UK, a dance production company, and I play guitar for them, and we go touring around all the holiday parks in the UK. And then on top of that, I do lots of sound library stuff and guest, recording for people from home, doing guitar parts on people's albums and things like that. But on the other side of that, I also release my own instrumental music. I put up YouTube videos. I'm in a tech metal band called Massacre Judas, who the album is out later this year. I play 8-string guitar. I do stuff for Lick Library and Guitar Interactive magazine, and Premier Guitar as well online.
Nice.
So there's other stuff I do, but that's probably in a nutshell what I'm up to at the moment. But in the past, people have sort of got to know me, I guess, from playing 8-string guitar, from the technical side of things. I did a lot of lick lessons and things like that. So that's the background. But I started playing when I was relatively young and actually have more of a blues-based introduction to guitar. So it's been a kind of full circle almost. So.
Well, yeah, you're of that age where you couldn't possibly have been influenced by 8-string guitarists when you started, because you're not 12, and interestingly, with everything that you said there, super busy, like enough to push most people into pure insanity. You'd think with all that money you'd be able to afford some decent internet, eh?
Exactly, yeah. The internet just follows me around, even when I'm on the tour buses and things like that. It's still, internet never works anywhere I go. It's always there's rubbish internet. So
yeah. For everybody watching, I met Sam when I was working in-house for Lick Library, and that came about because it was a Guitar Interactive project, wasn't it? You were doing the Tosin style file. Imagine that for your first professional on-camera paid gig, having to play like Tosin Abassi. Ouch. And if memory serves me correctly, that came about because normally metal tech session type stuff for the magazine was given to Andy James, but this was the sort of thing that Andy turned down. He didn't just turn it down though and say good luck. He said, I don't feel that I'd be the most appropriate person for that, but I know a person. So you, much like me actually, got some of your most prolific internet work because of a recommendation from Andy James. How did that come about?
It was insane, actually. My band Massacre Judas had actually supported his old band Sacred Tongue years and years ago in Reading somewhere, and I think I'd done the whole thing where you follow each other on MySpace or Facebook or something, and you know of each other but you don't know each other. So I went to the gig and I went there as a fan and sort of introduced myself, and he'd seen us play. I did my thing, and then about 2 or 3 years later, I saw him doing a clinic at a local music shop. Well, it's now PMT, but it's in Nevada in Portsmouth.
Yep.
And he was doing a clinic for his guitar company, and afterwards, I went up to him, and he just said, "Oh, could you, do this tech session for me for Lick Library?" And I just wanted a signed CD or something.
Yeah.
So that was insane. And he's like, "Mate, yeah, it'll be next week." I was like, right. At the time, I said yes. You just say it. I know it was an amazing opportunity to be given right there and then.
Yep.
I said yes. I felt nervous, but
so you should.
I did it, and he just told me what I needed to do. I turned up, and he was actually there watching me do the solo for that first tech session, which was nerve-wracking in itself. But he was very complimentary and super supportive, and since then, I obviously get people at Lick Library, and you start doing more things, and it's been good ever since.
So I remember meeting you that day. I'd seen your stuff online, so I was aware of who you were. But obviously, it's not really my field of expertise. Not something that I play in or take masses of interest in. But I do remember watching you play Gravity that day and thinking, "Fuck me, that's really cool." I really enjoyed what you did. So I also went out of my way at every possible opportunity after that to make recommendations for Lick Library. Like, we need to get Sam in. Sam's cool. Andy's busy. Fucking get Sam in. So what I'm getting at here is, much like me, I got all of my professional work from recommendations and contacts. Would you say that then a case of knowing who you know has been, or meeting people and networking has been an integral part, or are you successful just purely because you're awesome and awesome people are always successful?
I think that it's definitely, everything is down to who you know. Absolutely. I don't think anything about I don't know if my playing necessarily got me. It's just a mixture of things, being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people. And I guess at the time, the 8-string thing was kind of a little bit new.
Yep.
And people were just like, I did that song Gravity, which is the only video which is on my channel which has ever had any serious amount of views.
Yeah.
And people just sort of clipped onto that, and they like it, and I appreciate that. I think I don't necessarily. There's people who do the 8-string thing, and they do create amazing music. I don't necessarily think it was all down to ability. I think there's a mixture of things, like I say, knowing people, and also maybe because I previously worked for Chops from Hell.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, the Chops from Hell stuff.
That I did some like YouTube. I've talked in front of a camera before, my own YouTube channel. Kind of, not that I went into Lick Library like knowing how to do it well. I had the sort of cocky confidence to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
So.
Well, while you were saying that, I just had this kind of realization of another good example of why it's a case of who you know, because you play in Mask of Judas with Reese, right? And Reese is one hell of a guitar player. He really is one hell of a guitar player, but he's not, from what I've seen, had the same level of work outside of Mask of Judas that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though he seems to be pushing more in that direction now. So I assume that's another example of very much a case of you need to go out there and get to know as many people as you can. And if you're good at what you do and you know the right people, then your name kind of comes up. Or you can put yourself in my position where people say your name and they say, steer clear of him. Be careful. He might shout about you. So the Lick Library thing and the Guitar Interactive stuff and the YouTube based stuff, that's obviously part of what you do.
Yeah.
Was that, were you working professionally as a guitar player before that, doing other gigging things, or did that come afterwards? What's the running order of those things?
I was teaching, and I was up until years ago teaching in primary schools, teaching kids guitar, which is a good job. But not for me.
Yeah.
But so I've been fortunate enough to get out of that now. But that was that, and I did the odd gig, and actually I had some of the contacts which have enabled me to be doing what I'm doing now on the sort of hired gun front of what I do. I was already kind of starting to sow those seeds before when I was doing jam nights. I was depping for certain people in the odd gig, like every few months, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And practicing myself really, but not to. I mean, that's, you know, it was nothing like. I mean, going to Lick Library was a big step up.
Okay.
Step up.
And how have you found your let's just call it sideman work from now on then? Have you found your sideman work has got considerably busier since?
Yeah, well, last year I did about 160 gigs within about 9 months, and this year is looking at another. You know, now I'm doing a different type of gigging thing. I was in a resident band for a local park and all that kind of stuff. It was so much experience doing that, and then you work with people, and it's the whole thing. You because you're working with other musicians, you know, standing in for different people.
Yeah.
You meet a drummer who then knows you, and then they go, "I've got this other thing. Do you want to do this?" So, you know, for example, currently I'm on this tour, and I've also got I'm learning 3 or 4 different sets of music at the same time as playing 2 sets a night of soul music and Latin stuff.
Yeah.
So it's information overload, but you get quicker and quicker with it, definitely, and you start to get a repertoire. So I'd say that sideman thing is definitely a massive. It's probably about 8% of what I do now.
Right.
Definitely.
So let's say that because I would say confidently not a lot of the people, but all of my patrons will be watching this, and a lot of the people that follow me on or support me on Patreon all do so because what they're looking for is professional advice. They can play, they can transcribe a bit, but they're really looking to take things to the next level and maybe start making some money. Teaching's obviously a quick way to do that, but if you're not a teacher, then you're not a teacher. Like you know what I mean? Like, not everybody should be teaching. And I've done videos on that in the past. If people wanted to go out and start looking for paid gig work, what would you recommend?
There's several. I mean, this is something I've had this question before, and it's such a strange. I've met people. I talk to other musicians I meet in my work. How did you get into it? And some of them have just been met the right person and then suddenly gone on tour playing in front of 90,000 people every night.
Yep.
And then from there they actually enjoy scaling down from there, which is, I think it has to be a special kind of person to do that.
Yeah.
And maintain yourself. And these people are. Whereas I think the most people get into it from networking locally, knowing like jam nights, nights, jam, whatever, that sort of thing, going to local events. Even getting out your town area is also healthy. Meeting people that way so they can hear you. On a stage, you get to see really what people are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get to jam with people will be like, I like that person, or, you know, they're fun to do.
Yeah.
They'll leave you. So that kind of thing starts that. You know, so starting your own little function band and going to pubs and things like that and going out there. That's probably a one way in. That's not the way I necessarily did it myself. I've been lucky enough to, from my teaching and from my odd gigs here and there, I did some deps for a local guitarist who's now an agent.
Right.
Runs his own agency company, and you know, so I've got onto there, and that's kind of spun things on a lot further. So that's the other side. If you're by yourself and there's no one to really get to, then signing up to an agency could be a good thing, but you kind of need to have evidence of your abilities. So those jam nights and those smaller gigs, I don't think there's, I don't like
that. Excuse me. Excuse me. shitbags. Come here. Come here. They ruin all of my videos. So one of the things I picked up on you saying there was talking about getting an agent and things like that. And you talked about needing to be able to prove yourself, show what you're capable of. That is a sticky one, because I totally get what you're saying. You're talking about you need to be able to showcase what you're capable of. So if someone's in my position, I mean, I've been sinful on this front. I've not gone out and played much, if at all, since moving up to Scotland, because I've been so damn busy with work. So even someone that has my CV, which is extensive now, I don't have the what am I looking for? I mean, I've got the CV, but not the CV that shows the things that are useful in that setting. So when you talk about imagine you're in that setting like you were, what are the things that you think are useful in showcasing what you're capable of?
Well, I think it depends where you come from, and I definitely think it's not what people might think as classic guitarist, like solo, Steve Vai wannabe kind of thing. It's about being able to be, play rhythm well, be in time, but beyond that, it's also about being someone that people get on with.
Mm-hmm.
And on time, you can play guitar without staring, and you can look at the band and know what's happening. Having a repertoire. It's when I sort of started getting into this, I remember I got my first ever request to learn 2 hours of music, and it was all the classic function stuff like Sweet Child of Mine, Mustang Sally. But at the time, I hadn't really spent time learning that stuff, so it's a big thing to learn. But now things become standardized, so having those standard tunes under your belt and going out and seeing other function bands so you can see what kind of things people are playing. That's also helpful, because it means you can pick up those gigs quicker if someone does need somebody. But that all starts with knowing people, and that's the personality is definitely the main thing. Being able to work, and also understanding that if you're a guitarist in a band, it's not about guitarists are really famous for it. It's not about the guitarist. You're there to support a song, and when you do get a guitar solo, it's not a proving ground. It's not start getting your melodic minor licks out and going crazy. It might be, depending.
It's usually a chance to give the singer a break.
You got to play for the song, and if you're there, suddenly you bust out some crazy thing. What you're trying to say? You're just trying to say, look, you're pulling focus. It's ruining. So you have to have a stylistic awareness. I think that's the main thing. If someone wants you to deliver and get down on your knees and do a wiggly guitar solo, then you better be able to do that as well. But it's about the balancing and knowing. It's like acting. You sort of know where to do the right things, and that's a big thing as well.
So obviously my channel is pulls no punches, shall we say. I don't mind saying what I think, and not everybody I talk to is as comfortable with that. So I'm going to ask you for some sort of story, but don't worry, you don't need to name any names, because what I was thinking was, I always say that it's not a Levi Clay quote. It's been said many times, but I firmly agree with. There's no such thing as luck. Luck is nothing more than preparation and opportunity. And I see a lot of people complain that they don't have opportunities. Opportunities don't come to them, and I don't feel that's true. I feel that maybe I'm lucky, and maybe everybody I've ever known has been lucky too. I've seen so many opportunities come my way, and so many opportunities come in my peers and colleagues' ways. And it's the preparation part that they miss. I always think of myself as the crouching tiger. When an opportunity comes my way, even if it's just wandering past, I'm always ready to pounce on the opportunity and take it. But part of that means being prepared. You can't just pounce on every opportunity and then be shit at the gig. So, obviously, you need to be prepared for anything that comes your way. Can you think of any horror stories where you might have come across people, or even you've been that guy, where you've taken on something that you were not prepared for? And I'll tell you what, I'll give you a minute to think about it, because I have a story. of exactly that, and I learned a hard lesson on this one. So when I was at university, I was playing a reasonable amount of jazz because I was passionate about jazz. Not very good at it, but passionate about it. I wasn't doing the networking thing though. I spent all my time practicing because practice seems to be more important than music to me, apparently. Yeah, so I was practicing a hell of a lot. But the singer from Hellcat Molly, Dave, he works professionally as a guitar player, gigs in lots and lots of similar things to you, very, very successful in that. So he has that network. He knows everybody and everybody knows him. And he gets called to dep on things, not so much now, but when he was in university, he was always getting called to dep on things. And he called me up one day and said, man, I've been offered this gig, but I can't do it. Would you want to do it? And me, sat there like the crouching tiger, was like, yes, I'll take it. Opportunities come my way, brilliant. I didn't worry about whether I was prepared for it or not. He did say it was a jazz gig, though. So, yeah, I remember going down to this gig, taking a little Roland cube down with me and my Sir, because, you know, that's appropriate. Sir Govern, there goes a light bulb. I've been watching that for the last 5 minutes thinking that's going to fall, and it fell. Again, professional. So, yeah, I go down to this gig, and it's what you might expect. It's a dinner type thing. Everybody's eating, and we're just there to play some jazz. And I was told that it was going to be a quartet with a trumpet playing melodies, and I just need comp. And that I was fine with that. I turned up though, and it was just a trio. It was just me, a bass player, and a drummer. And I took my real book down again because that's what you see at all professional jazz gigs, isn't it? I was 17 or so at the time, so like I've come a long way, I promise. Yeah, and they just kept calling out these tunes that I didn't know. They were like, "Do you know this one?" And I'm like, "Nope." But I can find it in the real book and play it and read it. And after about we had a chance to play with each other for maybe 10 minutes before people started coming in. The bass player panicked and was like, shit, I need to call a trumpet player and get somebody down here because somebody needs to play the melodies. This guy can't handle this gig. So, but I played my way through the entire gig, and the part that made me realise sometimes you can pounce on a gig when you're not ready for it was they called, right at the end, they called Olio, which is rhythm changes tune, generally played quite quick. I picked up my real book, looked at the chart and went, cool, no problem. The drummer counted, went to count us in, and went, okay, ready. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. It was far, and yeah. When he hit the second one too, I was like, cool, all right, ready for this. And I remember, I'll never forget it vividly. I've probably told this story on my YouTube before. I remember sitting on this tune for about 6 minutes and not playing a single note. just being completely kind of whisked away by everything and just made to look a fool. But I made an effort afterwards. I got chatting to the bass player, and for some reason I said to him, if you ever need anybody again, here, I'm always here. He never called me, unfortunately. So have you been that guy before? Have you met people in settings like that where they're just criminally underprepared for a gig?
I have met loads of people, but I'm going to talk about myself here because I've done. I also think here that those opportunities where you mess up, bad judgment sets in, and you took that gig, etc. Those are the moments you learn your lesson hard, and then that makes a huge difference. And you need moments. It's important, and if you survive those moments, it makes you who you are. So, I've got several, and it's a similar one actually called in. It's just kind of one of my current agent now hired me many moons ago to cover for him in a similar situation. It was a sight reading situation, but it was for like one gig, and it was sight reading. Like there were pop and rock tunes, but they had different arrangements to click tracks, and there was screens and stuff on the stage, so it had to be all right. So my preparation for this was to tab out all the notation in the score. I print it out, etc. I get there, the MD, he's like, right, we need to cut this and put this in. I got this other sheet for you, and this is something else, and you've got this part now. We changed the key of this. Don't Stop Believing is in the key of that. What? Everything's different. Not what you expect. And I just crumbled, really. I was on stage, a fairly big holiday park, a lot of people watching, and I guess the thing is as well, sometimes people in the audience don't notice, maybe, but people on stage do, and they rely on the person that knows the part. And it was just, it was horrible. It was, but for some reason, I'm very fortunate that the same agent for is hiring me now. And ever since then, I've worked on my sight reading. And it's always been, I wouldn't say it's up to a fantastic standard just yet. You need those situations to let you know where that level should be.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I like that the thing you took from that was the lesson. I need to work on my sight reading, so you've gone and worked on your sight reading. You'd think that would mean I've worked on Olio, but I haven't. If I needed to play Olio again at 300 BPM, I would still play no notes. Absolutely no notes. I also like that you're trying to prepare everything with tab, because I did something similar when I was taking classical guitar exams. I think it might have been grade 7. I just wasn't overly prepared with one of the pieces that I had to play in my actual exam. So like 2 days before, I wrote out tabbed charts for it and just hid them inside the book and just prayed and prayed and prayed that the person examining me didn't walk around and look at my book while I was reading. And I got away with it. Yes! So I'm talking about being prepared and then showing how unprepared I've been in the past. But then I guess I've learnt those lessons too. And I'm always a lot more prepared now, which is massively important. Always be prepared. Don't be that guy. When you said that your agent gave you that gig, I may have misheard you because I was thinking about how to follow on from that. Did you say it was something that you said your agent was a guitar player and he was depping you his gigs from time to time? Yeah. So was this a gig that would have been his, but he gave it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been super supportive. He's one person that he's a local guy who actually used to teach me briefly at college, and I think he enjoyed the fact that I was into Paul Gilbert, Nuno Betancourt and stuff, and I think he likes the technical side of my playing.
Right.
So he thought, I need no. Before that, I had done some musicals, theatre work, amateur productions, and had charts. But with those sort of productions, you get loads of time to rehearse and prepare.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't get stuff just stuck in front of you. In an amateur production, maybe on the West End, it's a bit different, obviously. But for that, so I think he thought, okay, he'll be fine, sort of thing. Got me in, and it was a train wreck. But yeah, he had the gig.
The reason I asked that is because with my gig, it's the same scenario. Like, it was a gig for someone else, but then they depped it to me. And looking back, I know the reason that was depped to me, because he knew he couldn't. He knew that he would have been shooting himself in the foot if he took the gig. So essentially, he threw me in front of the bus. The offer to throw me in front of the bus was there. But even then, like, looking back and thinking about it now, if you're in that position, don't do that to anyone, because part of, like, when you have a regular gig, if you can't make a date and you dep it out to someone, it's expected that the person you dep it out to is of a high standard as well. And if your dep doesn't match your standard, it doesn't meet the required standard, I don't even know if it looks massively bad on the dep. I mean, it looks bad on the dep, but nowhere near as bad as the guy that's depped him in.
Yeah.
So don't do that. No one should have to live through the shame that I lived through that night. And I love sharing that shame with people. It's cool. So I'm going to jump onto slightly... We don't need to talk finances or anything like that. But you... How do I put this? Like, you're in the same position as me in that I moved up to Scotland and I bought a house. And I live in a house that I own, which is wonderful. That's the dream. That was always the dream. That was, for people of our age... we grew up to think that wasn't possible, and I still don't quite know how I pulled it off. Was that hard work sorting that out, being a self-employed person?
Well, I was working for a teaching company
right
for a long time. Then Lick Library started to happen a bit, and that enabled me to. I'm living in it's a flat I'm sharing with me and my girlfriend own it together. So, we managed to get on that ladder. Just, do you know what I mean? It's we grabbed it, we're here now, and then actually it's been. I was so nervous about it, but when we got there, it was great for sort of vision of what I need to do
Right.
as a professional musician, because it gave me, right, I have to live within these means. And then I've been able to sort of, you get to fit in things, and then that starts to roll off, and you start to be able to say certain things or yes, and etc. And you start to learn what you can and can't do. And so having a home has been good. I'm very fortunate. Well, I think that's a.
Well, it's a mad one. I think it is possible. I think people can do it. I think it's possible as musicians to go out and buy property, but just maybe not in London.
Yeah, I think I'm living in the sticks, in the middle of nowhere.
But you have a car, so.
Exactly. And, most of my work is travelling to places anyway. I'm driving up to Skegness tomorrow. A 4 or 5 hour drive, but I'll do that in a day.
Yeah.
Going back, gig. So the world is at your fingertips. If you do think it's necessary, because the internet location isn't necessarily the biggest. I mean, I think it does make a difference. I think there's a lot of people in London who meet, and there's lots of great stuff that happens there. But I think it is possible to be out in the sticks and still be able to.
Well, I think that there's upsides to it. There's considerable upsides to it. Like, I charge what I charge for my work, my transcription work, and that money goes a lot further here than it did in London. So if I was working doing the same thing that I'm doing now in London, I think I'd probably need to charge more for it. So the fact that I live further out means 500 miles away means that not that I do charge less, but I can afford to make less money than somebody doing the same job that lives in London. And I'm sure it's never something that you've ever gone down the route of, but I guess if you live out in the sticks and your life overheads are low compared to somebody else, I don't believe in undercutting other people, like being militant about it and just getting all your work because you do everything for £5. But it gives you that safety net of you can take a gig that you couldn't afford to take when you live in London. I can't do this gig for £60. Like that's not even gonna pay for my travel. Travel in London isn't that bad, but still, it's expensive. Whereas up here, living where I'm living now, I could take gigs for £60 every night and actually be really happy, and that would cover me quite comfortably.
Yeah.
So I guess that's another angle to look at things. So the reason I just wanted to bring attention to that, not that bit, but the house, the ownership thing, it's more a case of you totally can go out there and achieve dreams like that. Just gig, like you don't need to be a YouTube star that does 1 million views a month. You can go out and gig and just have a decent career. And we know so many guys like that, right? We know guys that aren't the faces of solo tours, but they make a good living because they're just solid players that can be relied on. They're going to turn up on time, they're going to do the job well, and they're going to go home. Yeah, lots of guys like that. That's cool.
I think I'm having a bit of a transitional period between because I started on the YouTube thing, and now this has taken over, and I'm actually so happy being a sideman, playing all these different styles of music, meeting all kinds of lovely people, traveling around. I really enjoy that, and my YouTube never really has picked up in many years, and I was looking at the other thinking, well, that's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. I mean, I'd like obviously I'd like to be able to promote myself more, really, my solo stuff, but really I'm happiest.
Yep.
Spiritually, from a point of like understanding where I am as a human and all that stuff, doing that kind of thing.
Yep.
It does make me happy to do that. And YouTube, it's do you want to be the person in the line in people's faces or being someone in the background? I quite like being the both sides of it, but the background thing is awesome. Like say you can come home and
I've always absolutely always said that. Like I had a conversation on one of these videos actually with Andrea Rinciari, one of my old students, and he constantly kind of digs at me and ribs me for not going out and doing all the gigging thing. But you have to do what's right for you, and going out and doing that, like, I'd enjoy it, it'd be fun, but the thing that's definitely right for me is I've got a little family, and I like being able to spend time with them. Alright, it's just a wife and 3 dogs at the moment. Who knows? Maybe the world is going to be cursed with some more little clays. I wouldn't give up that time for anything. So I have to do the work that suits me. And the reason I bring that up is because, like, you talk about the YouTube thing and it being hard work. It is hard work. I did the opposite to you. I went out and tried to form a career and didn't put much time or effort into YouTube. And then in the last year, 2 years, I've just gone, you know what, let's do the YouTube thing. And the only reason I'm picking up, traction, and actually your YouTube's still bigger than mine, but the only reason I have such solid growth is because I do the hard, impossible thing, which is I try and upload about 5 videos a week, which is hard work. So unless you're going to put that level of time into it, it's too easy to end up beating yourself up about it, because YouTube and being the face that everybody looks at and doing your own music and shit like that is great fun, but at the same time, when you do that, it's also very easy to start comparing yourself to everybody else. Like, I'm very aware of who my competition, and it's not competition because I make YouTube videos now. You can watch my videos and Rick Beato's videos. That's okay. Like, he's not my competition, and thankfully, because if Rick Beato was my competition, it would be the equivalent of being held down on the floor and punched repeatedly in the face 24 hours a day, because that's how good Rick's channel is. But it is easy to be disheartened if you make a video that you think is excellent. I've put some videos up that I think are really, really good, and I'm not going to name what they are, but I have, that I do look at and I go, it's a real shame that one didn't get more views. It's a real shame more people didn't watch that, because I put a lot of time and effort into it, and there's a good message in that one. It's easy to get disheartened by that, but I would imagine going out and doing the gigging thing, not so much. Was it a good gig? Did I enjoy myself? Did I get paid? Are other people also doing good gigs that they enjoy getting paid? Cool, let's go home.
Yeah, it's different. I think every type of job in music, I don't think any one musician can necessarily just do one thing for the whole career. Like, maybe in 5 years' time, I'll try and, if YouTube's still going, I might put that, like you're doing, that real effort into the production and consistency and creating a brand. At the moment, I just don't have time, and I'm happy doing this, so I'll be doing this until then. But everything, for example, I haven't seen my friends in ages. Yeah,
that's a killer. That is really killer.
My girlfriend's super cool, and I do get back to see her quite a bit, actually, but because I'm happy, I can travel, I can drive, and all that stuff. But driving's really, going back to the previous thing about what skills you need to have, driving really helps.
I didn't learn until I moved to Scotland. And I totally agree. Now I can take gigs. Not that I do, but
go to the shops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
But like you say, there's the comparison thing, and there's also, I think YouTube's changed a bit. Like, there was a lot of people. The comparison thing gets you when you don't expect it. I think you just kind of, I released my album, and it's great. I'm proud of it, happy. Oh, why is no one listening to it? They're listening to these people. My stuff is, like that. They should like my as well. But no, music doesn't owe you anything. That's the harsh reality. But you can just keep on going and do what you do and create your thing. If you genuinely love that and believe that, then that will push you through, I think. Definitely.
Oh, I totally agree. We'll talk about music now then. I'll just obviously plug myself, because that's what I do. Because my music releasing career has been more sparse than yours. I said that I would never put an album out. I'm very business minded. I look at things as money that is outlaid versus money that comes in, and if too much money goes out and not enough money comes in, you go bankrupt, and you don't want to do that. So I don't do things that don't make smart business sense. I mean, I say controversial shit on the internet. I guess that's not the smartest business sense. But yeah, there came a point where a few years ago, I thought to myself, I should put out an album. Not to make money, but because I've got a lot of shit going on in my life, and it would be cool to write some songs just to get that out, let that out. So I did. I wrote and recorded and crowdfunded successfully, thankfully, Hellcat Molly's Out of the Ashes, and every single song on that is close to my heart, close, like, important lyrics. You can tell, like, I live in Scotland now. I was living in London. I wrote a song called Leaving London, and if you listen to the lyrics on that, it's clearly about somebody that's struggling with moving out of a city that they love. Yeah, so everything was important to me. And I did an instrumental album, which, as well, Sam well knows, he played on one of the tracks. I'll cut a clip of that in now because he's got some monstrous alternate picking and he totally shows me up. Sounds like this. Yeah, crazy. How he does it, we will never know. And yeah, so I've got those two albums. The instrumental one is just an instrumental mix of the vocal album, but with lead guitars playing all of the vocal melodies, because some people don't like singers for some reason. Anyway, so the reason I mention that is because I totally feel your pain on that stuff. Like, I put those albums out, and, well, you know, they sold well on the crowdfund format on that platform, Indiegogo, and that essentially paid for the album, because it wasn't cheap putting the album together. I hired good people to make it sound good, and it sounds like a much more expensive record than it is. But yeah, I you know, it's on Bandcamp now, and it's on iTunes and Spotify, and I can tell you that my royalty payment that I'm due from Ditto Music for the last 12 months is £30. You know, it's nothing. Yeah. It's nothing. And on the one hand, like, I could be gutted about that, and I guess to a degree I am, because all I want is people to go out and listen to my music and listen to the songs and listen to the heartache, the message, the I'm so emo, listen, poor me. Yeah, it would be very easy to get disheartened by that, but actually I made a video on YouTube just recently called Why Are You Leaving YouTube, and it was about that kind of thing. Like, ultimately, I have to be really okay with the fact that, alright, a few hundred people have the album, and some of them enjoyed it and some of them didn't enjoy it, but that's fine. As long as those people that have it and do enjoyed it, then it's much better than it just being inside my head. So I'm happy with that. Why don't you talk to us about your music releasing history, career, influences, things that you've released and things that have just come out? So no one can buy them, obviously, because that's how music works. Man, if I sold as many albums as I do books, like, I'd be a happy man. Why do people buy books but not CDs? Oh, you don't want my artistic output? No, fuck that. Sorry, carry on.
Just before I released. That's been my frustration. I've released the EPs I've released recently. I mean, the thing is, I like you say, I appreciate everybody who has listens to it. Anybody that spends even 10 seconds listening to it, in my book, they've spent time. Do you know what I mean? I really appreciate it. And any feedback is good feedback, even if it's negative feedback for me, really. People have listened to something that I wanted to say musically, and as an artist, that is important, you know. But I remember I released my latest EP, features 4 tracks, and you know, spent a lot of time composing it and putting it together. It's very music, and I've mixed it all myself, all that stuff, and it's 18 minutes of music. And the first comment on it was, "Oh, that legato lick that you could do 13 minutes and 48 seconds in this video was sick, man. Have you got any tabs?"
Yeah. Got tabs? I know that phrase well.
That whole got tabs thing, I get it. I was that person.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to understand that crazy lick and stuff like that. But it's almost as if the general guitar population community has forgotten about music.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about showcasing a technique, which then you'll sell a book on. Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
you know,
or a DVD. Yeah.
yeah. But
I've probably
anyway,
sold more Lick Library Chop Shop DVDs than I have albums, and those Chop Shop DVDs are just me teaching solos from my album. Go figure.
but I've been releasing. That's how I started getting into YouTube and Facebook and YouTube and sorry, MySpace. That's what I was going to say. I started on MySpace when I was 17, and I made an album when I was 18 called Sides of the Monkey Man, which is not available anywhere. You can't buy it. You can't hear it.
I bet someone's downloaded it, man. If it went on the internet, like, it's somewhere.
Well, maybe. But
I managed to track down a fucking Scotty Anderson album from 1985 so we could re-release it. Like, if you can find that only maybe 200 copies were made, your music's out there somewhere. Someone has it.
Well, I was lucky enough to get into Guitar Player magazine when I was 18. Mike Melander had a column called MySpace Picks, and I messaged him like, yeah, my song is called Omelette of Fire. That was the name of the song. And he gave me a review. It's just like, the song starts really well, but his vibrato and bends get sloppy after a minute. And I was like, okay, that's another lesson. And
Yep.
that went in the... And then since then, I just released loads of instrumental playthroughs of my own songs, which turned into the songs. And then recently, last year, I compiled a bunch of songs in an 80s sort of synthwave, vaporwave style.
That was the last thing of yours that I listened to. So apparently you've got more things.
I've got a new thing now.
Yeah.
that previous, the 80s one is called The It's Another Rotation. And that was previously under a project called Jacket Rock, because I thought I'll try and do this as a persona to see if people receive it, which didn't really work. Yeah, no. I just thought, release it under my name. And people responded. People were confused because it's meant to sound like tape recorder quality, lo-fi.
Yep.
You know, it's meant to be that whole thing. But people took that as, oh, it's just really shit. But apart from that, a lot of people did get really like it, which I really appreciate. And then I released a new EP probably about a month or two ago. I can't remember, called Distant Lights, which has got a mixture of instrumental, melodic. It's not 80s based. It's just music, I guess. There's a R&B style track at the end of it called Point, and you know, that's just kind of what I do. My music writing process is I just write whatever I feel like writing. I guess I'm a bit of I'm a you know, jack of all trades. I think that's the word to say. Yeah. I love all different styles of playing, and whilst I guess people will know me for technical stuff, even there, you know, I'm not at the top of the game there. No one ever will be, but that's what I'm kind of known for. But beyond that, I like, if I'm writing music, it's just whatever comes out. So it could be, you know, jazzy stuff. It could be, you know, pop, rock, whatever.
Would you say the best place for people watching is to Bandcamp, to check you out on Bandcamp?
Yeah, Bandcamp is the place. I mean, if I've got my latest EPs on Spotify, but yeah, Bandcamp, Sambel Guitar, Bandcamp, and YouTube. I put my EPs up there, full streams.
Great. Bandcamp is great. I like Bandcamp. My albums are coming off iTunes and Amazon and all those places, just because the companies that keep them there are now charging me more money to have them there than I make in sales. So again, bad business decision.
The thing is, I find I reluctantly put it up on Spotify and Amazon, but I thought, well, it means people can just, you know, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have those DVDs and stuff out of Learn to Play Paul Gilbert and stuff. So someone might go, I wonder what Sam Bell does, and they're not necessarily. I know when I want to know what a guitarist is doing, I'll check the band out on Spotify.
Right. Okay.
I'm one of those guys, you know. So I guess I'd be silly not to do that if I'm someone that does that myself with my own music. So I might as well.
I think of it the same way as piracy. Like, I've got friends that have released albums and they found their albums available for download on pirate sites, and they've got really angry about that, and they see them as lost sales. Like, oh, my last album sold this many copies, but my new album sold this many copies, you know, and the reason for that is because of it's available for pirate you can pirate it on this website, and I just don't see it that way. To me, it's not that way. I don't see maybe a small percentage, but Spotify. I don't think Spotify. People listening to your album on Spotify are lost purchasers. I don't think that people that are listening to your album on Spotify are the people that were going to buy it 5 years ago anyway. Yeah, well, they probably would have pirated it.
But someone might discover you though from that process, and then later on they might, he's got a DVD out, or he's got a book, he's got another album. You can buy the CD. I might do that. You don't know where it goes, and I think like the music, releasing original music for me as a guitar player is like the most important thing I want to do. That's the hobby, the joy. That I see it as a hobby now, because I don't make money out of it, but I use it as a very elaborate business card.
Yeah, that's a nice way
to show.
A mad vanity project.
Yeah, but then there's going back to that technique thing. There's so many people who don't release music, and their videos and stuff are just them playing licks or something, which is fantastic, and that works for them.
Yep, that's what you want to do. Cool.
For me, if you want to do that, that's cool. But I want to make music.
Yep.
I want to create a piece of music. You know what I mean? So I think it's important.
I'm going back to that feeling of wanting to create music. I'm going to close up with a story then, which actually, this is probably more for you and me. It just popped into my mind while you were talking there. Probably not going to be as useful for people watching, but actually anybody that is watching that has made their own music, maybe this will inspire. But it will definitely inspire Sam and me more than you, unfortunately. So I remember you and I driving out to Chelmsford to see Guthrie play, and in the car you put on one of my own EPs. Yeah. So just in a couple of words, how did you discover my own? Good, you don't know. Perfect. But you know what? Like that's the lesson to me, right? And it's actually just left me quite inspired. I know the excitement with which you and I were both listening to that EP in your car, and I've since bought those EPs, his stuff, because the Pump Master is something that I need on my phone at all times. And the Pump Master is something that when I've drunk a certain amount of whiskey at a party, I insist goes on over the sound system, so I can run around and go do, and I love it. Very cool. So my own. And what I'm taking away from that is, actually, while my album might not sell gangbusters, just thinking that there might be two guys in a car tonight, and one turns to the other and says, "Man, I got this album, you should check it out, it's really cool." And they listen to it in the car and go, "Man, this is really cool. Fucking yeah, guy sounds a bit depressed, but yeah, this is cool." Like, actually, that's ultimately the reason that I felt the need to make music. So if anybody is out there and enjoying my music like that, just let me know, because that's what it's all about. So I just need constant validation. Just tell me that you love me.
Well, it's always amazing to hear when people say, I checked out your album or something. I went to a Paul Gilbert clinic in November last year, and because of DVD, people have found me, and they've listened. And I had about two people came up to me. They're friends of each other, and they're like, "Yeah, we like that Jacket Rock song ages ago. That's really good. Is there more of it?" And I'm like, "Oh, cool. That's just like the ultimate."
Yeah.
And it's not about, you shouldn't have to seek validation, but let's say what it is, it does inspire you to keep moving when even one person, like I said earlier, even someone spent 10 seconds listening.
Yeah.
They've checked it out. It's important.
It's that battle of validation versus success. I've given the choice of having somebody come up to me and say, "I bought your album, I played it once, it was all right," versus someone coming up to me and saying, "I pirated your album, but I really enjoyed it and I listen to it all the time." After I give them a tremendous beatdown, I'm going to thank them for taking the time. No, I'm kidding. Like, I don't care. If you want to pirate my album, by all means, pirate my album. Just listen to it, because that's not, I don't rely on that for my living. That's art, and having that line between art and business. If you want to come to me for transcriptions, by all means, I'll do that. But also just listen to my music, because that's cool. So go listen to Sam's music. Go listen to my music. I will link to both of them in the descriptions. So, Sam, I will cut. Well, was there anything else you wanted to add before I cut you off? I'm just seeing that we're approaching the hour mark, and at this point, probably no one's watching us anymore.
Well, I appreciate you asking me on Levi. I really admire what you do, and you know,
obviously, I'm fucking awesome.
It's good to sort of just chat about these things. I think as well, it's interesting for this sort of content. I think people need to see more of, seeing what you do, because I think there's a lot of showmanship, I'd say, on YouTube of certain guitar players. It's all, and that's how they do that. But it creates this unreal perspective almost of what it is to be a musician, maybe.
Yes. We sometimes forget the fact that Paul Gilbert, from time to time, also sits on a toilet and shits. You know?
It's true.
It happens, you know? He's probably had sex with his wife at some point, you know? Having these romanticised facades. I mean, they have a child, don't they? So chances are they've probably pumped at some point. Probably while listening to the Pump Master. Yeah, keeping these facades up. I get it. Like, you need to have the romanticized business. Like, if you look at Zakk Wylde's promotional content on his Facebook, the way he puts himself across, obviously his brand is massively, massively important. And it's easy for people to forget that I'm sure he has bad days too. I'm sure he argues with Barbara from time to time. I'm sure shit things happen. I'm sure sometimes he falls over. I'm sure sometimes he deals with the problem that all men deal with. You go for a piss at a urinal and then you have to deal with piss driblets when you shield the beast again. Piss driblets, big problem. Vote it up for anybody that knows that reference. I love you very much.
It's also about the standard of guitar, like music. Going away from the piss for a slight second, the music, the actual playing, and what it. The standard, like, there's a lot of sort of fakery going on with videos and things. People don't realise actually what real guitar playing sound. And that's a whole different subject. We could talk about that for another hour or two. But
I could make videos just debunking these every time I see that. They get sent to me now. People just constantly sending me messages saying, check this out. Do you think this is fake? No shit, it's fake. Sorry, carry on.
I get some people saying, well, there's no problem in that. But actually, well, yeah, there is, because it's creating an unrealistic expectation. Maybe you need to the idea of music and guitar gets swapped around, and it becomes this kind of, racing bike rather than a tool to make music. It's a bit crazy. But anyway, I'm ranting.
Yeah, well, I say things like this all the time. I assume that Mozart couldn't play the clarinet. He might have been able to. But if he could play the clarinet, then maybe he couldn't play the trumpet. My point is, I don't hold it against him when he writes a beautiful trumpet part, because he's not trying to convince me that he could play a beautiful trumpet part. He composed a beautiful trumpet part. If you like Rings of Saturn and the piss that comes out of Lucas Mann's existence, cool, good for you. Like, I'm indifferent. I don't dislike it. There are certain things I've heard that I've gone, oh, that's quite cool. I take no issue with that. But the moment you sit in front of me and say, look what I can do, rather than look what I composed, here's my art, versus here's what I'm capable of.
That's one of the biggest lessons. One of the biggest things that I asked myself was, what am I trying to say here? Like, if I'm doing a video where I'm just running up and down, playing super fast, and just doing that. I did have a point where I just released videos like that every other day, and then I was like, what am I saying? What am I proving? No one's gonna hire me for a gig.
Yeah.
No one's gonna want me to play on their track because I sound like I'm noodling.
I did. I had you play on my track and just told you to fucking unleash, put your foot to the floor.
That was a unique situation.
Yeah.
You literally did say crazy, and I did. So maybe it does work in those situations. But I think.
Well, you didn't get paid, so.
No, but it was good to be a part of the thing. It was fun. But I think it's about really questioning when you're playing something. What are you saying? Are you saying look at me, or are you saying here's actually something I want to convey to you? Maybe you are trying to convey look at me.
Yeah.
Maybe you are saying
that's
look
valid.
how good my chops are.
Yeah.
But that's like me going into, I don't know, McDonald's and saying, they accidentally gave me 2 more nuggets in my meal. Look how great I I'm lucky. Look at me. I've got more than you.
I mean, I would
And everyone's
celebrate
just
if I
gonna.
had 2 more nuggets.
Oh, you would celebrate, but you don't have to tell everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you keep it secret. You don't want to know how many
You can try,
nuggets I
otherwise
eat. You
no
can
chance.
probably make an educated guess. Too many, I think, is the answer. Yeah, I get that. Like, you're putting your what you're trying to convey. It's okay. I think people need to understand that we don't all have to be cyborgs and Terminators. Like, it's all right if you can't do something, and it's also fine. Like, there were things that I wanted on my album that I couldn't do. So I didn't fake them. I just, I wanted mad, floaty, keyboard-esque, cascading arpeggio type stuff. And I can't do that type thing. So I asked Cameron Allen to do some 8-finger stuff for me because that's what I wanted. And I don't feel bad about that. That's, as the artist, that's what I wanted there. That's the texture that I wanted to paint there. And I don't feel that I need to be able to do it for it to still be my artistic vision. And plus, Cameron's really good, so that's okay. So cool. Thank you everybody for watching, and if you have enjoyed this, I'm going to point over here now. Sam can't see any of this. I'm just showcasing all of my lovely Patreon supporters. These guys keep helping these videos happen, and I wanted to say this at the beginning, but I didn't. Hopefully audio is much better than normal. That's because I've got this beautiful Shure SM7B and a boom arm. So now my audio should be fantastic, and again, it's the support of my patrons over on Patreon that allow me to keep making these videos better. So these guys, awesome people, they all support me at $10 or more. So if you would like to join that list, you can do so by visiting me on Patreon. Alternatively, supporting me for as little as $1 is also helpful. It gets you access to my private patron-only Facebook group. Good bunch of people in there. We're constantly talking about all things music, and I post lots of behind-the-scenes stuff. So if you would like to join us over there, you can do so by clicking this button up here. There is a link to subscribe to my channel down here, and there are 2 more videos here and here, one of mine and one of Sam's. Don't bother with mine today. Go and check out Sam's because he's a great shred monster player, and I'm sure you'll enjoy his content if you are unfamiliar with him. So peace out everybody, thanks for watching, and I will see you for another video again soon. Bye.